on Meet the Press Now. So I want to begin on the funding bill. You voted against both continuing resolutions. In light of the deal with Democrats, do you regret voting down the first one?
No, not at all. We have soon coming up $36 trillion of debt. That is too much. Kevin McCarthy promised that we would have a vote on every single of the 12 appropriations bills. That should have started in June. It should have started in July. We would have been where we needed to at this point, and that is having passed those bills, giving Kevin the opportunity to negotiate with the Senate on each of those bills. The fact that he didn't do it was just more of this crisis management. We had the same thing with the debt limit. It was last minute. The world was looking to see what we would do, and he forced a vote on that and promised President Biden much more, $200 billion more of spending than he promised Republicans when he ran for Speaker. So the message is very clear to Kevin McCarthy. You've got to stick to your promises and make sure we get these bills done.
Would it have been worth it, though, to shut the government down?
No, it wouldn't have been worth it at all. But that is on Kevin McCarthy. It's not worth it in June when you don't start putting appropriations bills on the floor. And this has been going on now for 27 years. We haven't passed our appropriations bills because the Speaker and the leader of the Senate decide at the last minute what the deal is going to be. That isn't inclusive of members of Congress, and it shouldn't happen.
So, Congressman, you mentioned that it's on Kevin McCarthy. Regarding Matt Gaetz's potential motion to vacate, would you support that? Would you want to oust the Speaker?
I want to hear what Kevin McCarthy has to say about why $36 trillion of debt is okay. I want to hear what he has to say about why we haven't had 12 appropriations bills. I want to know what the side deals were with Hakeem Jeffries, a leader of the Democrat Party in the House, regarding Ukraine, regarding other things.
Now, the Speaker says he didn't talk to the Biden administration about Ukraine funding. I know on the floor today, Matt Gaetz said that there was an alleged secret deal, but McCarthy says that's not what happened.
Well, the president says that's what happened. The president said, I'm going to hold Kevin to his commitment to bring up Ukraine funding. When the president of the United States says that, he doesn't have a dog in this fight, and he made it very clear that Kevin McCarthy made that commitment.
So just to be clear, though, at this point, you're a maybe when it comes to ousting Speaker McCarthy.
I am. Let's put everything on the table and see who is going to be the best person to lead us into a fiscally responsible spending pattern.
At this point, who else could lead the Republicans at this point?
I think there are a number of really good candidates. They're not going to put their heads up. Well, I'm not going to go through their names because they don't want to identify themselves while Kevin is Speaker. There is something about loyalty to the boss at this point. But if Kevin is no longer the Speaker, he loses the motion to vacate, I think you're going to see a lot of good people step forward.
Is one of those named Ken Buck?
No.
You sure?
Worst job in America, and I guarantee you Ken Buck and Matt Gaetz is not one of those people. I might get 3 votes. Matt would get 1.
Do you think Matt Gaetz is just out for attention here?
No, I don't. I think there's a real issue in D.C., and the insiders in D.C. have played this game around appropriations for years. I credit Matt with making sure that we're going to move down this path. I think it could have been done a little more delicately at times, but certainly give Matt credit.
So if it fails on the first try, if he puts this motion to vacate, but he keeps doing it over and over again, and the House grinds to a halt, what then?
Well, that doesn't happen. I don't think Matt is that tone deaf. Kevin McCarthy is that tone deaf in what he's done with spending, but I don't think Matt is that tone deaf.
You don't think that Matt Gaetz would grind the House to a halt?
No, I don't.
Really don't think that?
No.
He did several months ago during the speakership process when more than a dozen times there was votes for Speaker. The House grounded to a halt back then.
Well, so first of all, I thought that was really healthy. I think when you're talking about a deliberative body that goes through a process like that, it's not unhealthy. But there were, I think the first vote for Kevin McCarthy, there were 22 people that objected to him being Speaker. And then that came down and down as Kevin was negotiating with different people. But it wasn't just Matt Gaetz that ground anything to a halt. People didn't swear allegiance to Matt Gaetz. There were a lot of people that had concerns with Kevin.
Do you trust Kevin McCarthy right now?
I don't.
You don't?
No.
That says a lot that you would say that about your Speaker of the House at this point.
Well, it's based on making promises that he can't keep to so many different people.
What happens if Democrats sign on to oust Speaker McCarthy? What do you make of that?
Well, Kevin is then forming a coalition government, and the Democrats have then bought somebody that frankly, a lot of them have come up to me and said they don't trust. So there is going to be an interesting coalition that's formed, but I don't think it's going to be based on trust with Kevin.
Now, amidst this government shutdown standoff, the House had its first impeachment inquiry hearing last week. You've been critical of that effort, saying that you've seen no smoking gun connecting the president and his son's business dealings. Did you see any new evidence at that first hearing that would change your mind?
No, just the opposite. Professor Jonathan Turley said there isn't enough evidence for an impeachment at this point because there isn't that link between Hunter Biden's activities, which, by the way, are sleazy, and Joe Biden's status as vice president and his actions as vice president.
So do you think that there could be a smoking gun here?
Oh, there could be.
But this is the first hearing. Wouldn't they have brought their best evidence in that first hearing?
Sure. And when I met with the investigators at the Oversight Committee, they told me this is an ongoing investigation. And so I think they're looking for that. But the problem with calling it an impeachment inquiry is you raise expectations. They were doing a great job, Judiciary, Oversight, Ways and Means, of investigating what happened. It should have stayed at that level.
But to be clear, you don't think they have a smoking gun at this point?
They do not have a smoking gun. I'm sure of that.
Representative Ken Buck of Colorado, thank you so much for joining us here on Meet the Press Now.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time.